Hey friends, Peter Faciano here. Welcome back to my series on the Canon M6 Mark II. Back in December 28th, 2019, I uploaded my first video dealing with the M6 Mark II. Since then, 23 videos later, about 3.5 hours worth of content, a lot of words have come out of my mouth dealing with this camera, and not everything that I said was correct. So in today's video, I'm going to correct my mistakes, give you an update on some of the Canon software for their webcam utility, and then also provide you some additional information about my R6 purchase from about 3 weeks ago. So let's go ahead and jump into today's video and start cleaning up my mess from 2020. All right, so my first mistake came with my first video, and that dealt with setting up the menus in manual mode. I talked about shooting RAW, and then I went right into talking about picture profiles and setting a picture profile to neutral. So when I edit my photos, I can have the flattest picture profile possible. Now, RAW is RAW. RAW, there are no picture profiles attached to it. So if you just shoot RAW, you don't have to worry about it. But if you do shoot RAW plus JPEG, then set your picture profile to the one that suits you the best. And also let me know in the comments below, because I'm not positive if this is correct, and I don't want to make another video correcting my mistakes again. So if you take a picture and then you view it on the back of the screen or through your viewfinder, does that picture show up as the picture profile for neutral or standard or vibrant or whatever it is that you set it? So when you take a look at your picture preview, does that picture preview show RAW, or does that picture preview show the picture profile that you've chosen? So if anybody knows, just leave a comment down below about the picture profiles. My next video dealing with the video menus, it was just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to my next two videos and lump them together because they deal with the same thing. Silent shooting and customization C1, C2, customizing your M6. I had mentioned that my camera came C1 set as manual mode and then C2 set in priority mode. I had a viewer said that hers came C1 priority, C2 priority. And then somebody also mentioned that it doesn't make a difference if it's C1 or C2. You can just go through, set up the menus that you want any way that you want, and then when you register the settings in your wrench menu number 5 as C1 or C2, it'll register those settings based on where your mode dial is at the top. So if you are in manual mode and you set up your C1 settings, it'll register as manual. If you go to C2 and you go through and set up your menus in the manual mode as well, and you go to register it, it'll save it as manual as well. So depending upon your shooting style, you might want to shoot in C1, maybe indoor settings, and then when you click it to C2, this might be a setting that you can do outside. But in either situation, either case, you can always shoot in manual mode just as long as you register those settings within the camera's wrench menu number 5, C1 and C2. I hope that makes sense. All right, moving on to the next video. This one deals with audio, and this is not a mistake as far as like me speaking, but if you guys notice at I think the 3 minute mark, 3 minute and 47 seconds, the audio cut out as far as like the microphones go. So I just thought it was humorous that in an audio video had terrible audio when I was talking about how you need to have an external mic, and I forgot to turn it on. So that was the audio one, the audio mistake. Okay, on to the next one, the focusing bracketing. The only mistake here I made was not showing you that the wide focus bracketing worked. And that's pretty much it for that one. The overheating video, the back button focus, and the raw burst modes were all fine. I don't think there were any mistakes in that one. And then the next video dealt with the firmware update. Now, I know that the newer M6 Mark IIs ship with the firmware update already, but if you are new to this channel and you have an older version of the M6 Mark II, just understand that if you are outside of the United States, your camera is going to be set to PAL, P-A-L, which doesn't allow you to shoot 24 frames per second after you do the update. You actually have to go in and set your camera to NTSC in order to have the 24 frames per second available to you. And again, leave a comment down below. The difference between PAL and NTSC, PAL outside of the United States, I think it has something to do with the electrical grid, and lights flicker. They have a normal flicker to it. So if you are outside the United States and you shoot at 24 frames per second, in certain situations, you might see lights flickering. But again, I'm not positive. I live in the United States. I don't live outside the United States, so leave a comment down below and let me know if that is correct. And if you do live outside the United States and you want to change your camera from PAL to NTSC, it's very simple. Just go to your wrench menu, item number 2, video system, and change it from PAL to NTSC, and then you should see the firmware update show up for shooting 24 frames per second. All right, so my next video deals with the webcam utility service that Canon released. It was a beta version, 20 cameras were supported, and I think 3 of the streaming services were supported. Since the release of that, they've been working on and they have now officially released their updated versions for PC and Mac. They have expanded the compatible cameras up to around 40. You can record now internally on the camera, and all you need is a USB Type-C cable or a USB cable that extends from the camera to your computer. If you do have the beta version, make sure that you delete that from your computer and then install the new version. The process is still the same, so if you are interested in this, just go ahead and go back to the webcam utility beta video, watch it, delete the old version, and download the new one. So after the webcam video, I released a tips and tricks video. And in that one, I believe the only mistake that I actually made was talking about the focus peaking. So whenever you use the magnifying glass and you zoom into a subject, focus peaking doesn't work for that. I mean, you can zoom in 5 or 10 times, and once you do, you can get your manual focus as crisp as you can, but the focus peaking lines will not appear when you magnify it. All right, after the tips and tricks video, I released a time-lapse video, a stabilization, best vlog lens, and the autofocus speed settings. To the best of my knowledge, those were all correct. The last video that I released that I believe had a mistake in it was the slow motion. When you set your camera up for slow motion and you're shooting 120 frames per second, I mentioned the fact that you should double your frame rates, or you should double your shutter speed. So if you're shooting 120 frames per second, you should set your camera to 240. Well, Canon cameras don't have 240 or 1/240th of a second shutter speed. So just get it close and set it to 1/250th of a second, and your 180-degree shutter rule should still be okay, and you should maintain that adequate motion blur if that's what you're into. And then other than that, the other 3 videos that I released dealing with the M6 Mark II, I believe were all mistake-free. That dealt with the trinity of lenses, the accessories, and the Canon Connect app. Which brings me to my last video, which was the unboxing, the quick unboxing of the Canon R6. Now, I've had that camera a little over 3 weeks. I put it through its paces, and I just gotta tell you, it's a great camera. It's just not a great camera for me. So I ended up sending it back, and I believe I'm going to hold out for the Canon R7 or the M7, depending upon which version they release. Now, a couple of things went into me returning the camera. I really did like the internal stabilization for photos. I like the animal eye detect, but what I did not like, and which I really realized it was, glaringly obvious, that as soon as I started using it, I actually missed that reach of the 1.6 crop having the APS-C sensor. All of the lenses that I have are supported by APS-C cameras, so that's one of the main reasons why I sent this back. I didn't want to spend any additional money investing in the RF lenses when I already had the 400mm and the 50mm EF lens, and those were basically the only 2 lenses that I had that were supported by the EF mount. All of my other lenses are EFS, and the crop sensor lenses are meant for crop sensor cameras, not for full frame cameras. At least that's my understanding. So again, if I'm wrong, leave some comments down below. And I guess with all that being said, I'm gonna leave it at that. So if you guys got some value out of this, give me a like, a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you're not subscribed, just go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Consider being a subscriber. Turn on that bell notification so you know whenever I publish a video. Share it with somebody that may be interested in this, and that's where I'm going to leave it. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.